welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Mixed with Shambi, the podcast. This is going to be Speak About It, episode 9. This case right here is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be multiple parts to it. This will be part 1, so it's going to be Speak About It, episode 9, part 1. This part right here, I'm going to be speaking to you about the guest of this episode, and then the next part will be his actual interview. So there's going to be some things I have to look up on the computer and things like that as well, but I'm just going to basically, go by his paperwork that I have in front of me and talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on with him. All right, so again, this is Speak About It, episode 9, part 1. And the guest we're talking about, he goes by Lil Steve. His name is Stephen Briston. He's currently being housed in a VA DOC facility. Whether or not he wants you to know the exact one, I'm not sure yet, so I will leave that up to him. But yeah, this one's heavy, and I mean, it's real heavy. Lil Steve has been incarcerated for the past 33 to 34 years. He's been sentenced to multiple life sentences. He was sentenced as a juvenile. I gotta say, after looking at all of his charges and things, I really got, in the words I would put it, I really feel like he got the shit into the stick. And something's got to give. Something's got to be done. We have to advocate for this man. We got to, keep his name alive. Justice for Lil Steve. There's no reason he should not be home. All right, so in his case, the charges we're going to talk about is his robbery. They have on there robbery twice, same day, all of that, but they have it on for two different charges or whatever. He does have a co-defendant. I don't know his co-defendant's name. If he wants to mention, that's going to be up to him as well. But I will say, however, his co-defendant, who was an adult at the time, again, Lil Steve was only 17 years old when this happened. His co-defendant was a grown adult. He only got 60 years. Some of you might be saying, well, Shan, 60 years is still a lot. That's still basically life, whatever. Could be. We don't know. But at the same time, 60 years still means there is a fucking release date. This man who was there with a juvenile committing the same exact crime only got 60 years when Lil Steve was sentenced to multiple life sentences as a juvenile. All right, now if you look things up about how, sentencing a juvenile to multiple life sentences, you might come across a case called Miller versus Alabama. Basically, what Miller versus Alabama is it was a decision decided on June 25th of 2012, and the U.S. Supreme Court had ruled that mandatory sentences of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole are unconstitutional for juvenile offenders, including those convicted of homicide. All right, so in other words, Lil Steve don't have no fucking release dates. He was sentenced as a juvenile. So why is he being sentenced to multiple life sentences with no fucking release date when you sit here and you got Miller versus Alabama, right? All right, so let's keep going ahead and looking at some other stuff. It didn't really, his case is not considered a high profile case, so you cannot read about it online. All the information I have from him and am presenting to you is from him and, looking different things up on the internet. All right, so I got to rely on him to tell his own story, basically. All right. So I want to know, for the audience, 2 robberies the same day, same time. How does that happen? How does that happen? And it's basically, I'm assuming, saying the same, one incident, because again, it was the same day. He has a couple of institutional charges. Yeah, he has some. But them institutional charges has nothing to do with his multiple life sentences, because the multiple life sentences were his effect for his street charges. It went into a bank. No one was hurt. I want to make that very fucking clear. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt. I'm going off of, things with me not even actually having a conversation with him yet. Different things. I feel like ACLU needs to get involved, find out what the fuck's going on. I'm going to say I will not consider the police the enemy. I will not consider DOC the enemy. I do not feel like that. And this actually came from my brother who is incarcerated, and I absolutely 100% agree with him. They're not the enemy, but at the same time, I feel like they're the in-between people. If why is he still there? Why? So, in other words, all right, it says core legal ruling. The Supreme Court held in a 5-4 decision that mandatory life without parole schemes violate the 8th Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. This is for juveniles, right? Again, he was a juvenile. Writing for the majority, Justice Elena Kagan stated that sentencing a minor to die in prison without allowing a judge or jury to weigh mitigating factors such as chronological age, immaturity, and there's another word I can't pronounce, impetuosity, and family or home environment is excessive and unconstitutional. Background and context. The case combined two separate matters involving a 14-year-old defendant. All right. This is Miller in Alabama and Contrell Jackson in Arkansas, who were convicted of murder in adult court under the state laws that made life without parole mandatory. The ruling built upon previous landmark decisions, Roper v. Simmons, which barred the death penalty for juveniles, and Graham v. Florida, which banned life without parole for non-homicide juvenile crimes. Again, Lil Steve's crimes, none of his crimes, none of his charges have anything to do with hurting anybody. He did not physically hurt nobody. Nobody was injured. Nobody was killed. Nothing. There's no reason on this earth that man should still be fucking incarcerated. All right. My goal for this video, I would like for any of my audience, I'm not, like I give you my spill every time. I'm no type of law enforcement, medical professional, any of the above. I'm just an independent podcaster / advocating for what I believe in. And what I believe in is Stephen Briston deserves to fucking be free. The man is now 50 years old. He's been there, again, 34 years. He's served his time. He was sentenced as a juvenile. I cannot state this enough, because that's the whole point of this. I mean, they're saying people are getting ready to release 3,500 inmates on TV. Some of them are convicted rapists, murderers, all types of shit. He is none of the above. He is none of the fucking above. Release him. Free him. Give that man, 50 years old, he still is able to have some kind of fucking life. He still is able to have redemption, rehabilitation. If any of my audience knows of anything, ACLU of Virginia, if any of y'all hear this, get in contact. VADOC, I'm not going to say I'm calling you out, but something's got to give. In 2016 case Montgomery versus Louisiana, the Supreme Court ruled that the Miller decision applied retroactively, meaning thousands of individuals previously sentenced to mandatory life without parole as juveniles became eligible for resentencing or parole hearings. Okay, can he at least get a fucking resentencing? We need to resentence him. We need a recourt. We need a retrial. Something. Again, his institutional charges have nothing to do with it. And they're honestly petty. I'm not going to give too much of them charges without his permission. I'm going to let him do them on part 2 with his interview. He deserves to be able to tell his story like everybody else. That's the whole reason for speak about it. Yeah, no juvenile defendant may face a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He has no possibility of parole. Why in the fuck is he not out? Pause for a minute, y'all. So I just looked up because Bill Steve was sentenced in 94, I believe. 1994. And I just looked up because in his paperwork, one of the questions is, were you sentenced before the Miller versus Alabama? So I just looked it up. Can a juvenile still be set free if they were sentenced before the Miller versus Alabama case? And this is what it says. It says, yes, a juvenile sentenced to life without parole before Miller versus Alabama can still be set free. In the 2016 landmark case, Montgomery versus Louisiana, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the ban on mandatory life without parole sentences for juveniles applies retroactively. This decision opened the door for thousands of individuals previously sentenced as minors to receive new sentencing hearings or parole consideration. We have got to get this man a new sentence, a new sentencing hearing, because, be real, 50 years old in multiple life sentences and then some. Let me not forget the and then some. It is just beyond. It pisses me off so bad that I really don't have a lot of words to describe how the fuck I feel. When I first spoke to my brother about this man, I asked him, do you know him? My brother spoke up for him. I spoke to Lil Steve myself, and he willingly gave me his number so I could look at his charges myself, and I could feel more comfortable with covering his case, doing his story. And I looked it up, and right away I knew he got the shit into the stick. Right away I decided I was going to do his story. Yesterday, while speaking to my brother, I told him I want to do it in multiple parts because I want to be able to speak to you all myself, but then I also want to give him the time to do his interview, and then if he needs to come on a third part and just talk, he is more than welcome to, because that's how much I believe in this. I've never, in the months I've been doing this podcast and spoken to incarcerated men and women, I have never done multiple parts for any of them. This will be the first. And I strongly believe in this. My brother strongly believes in this. As you know, this podcast is mine and his together. He's finding people and giving ideas, and I'm executing the plan. We both feel very strongly in this man. We both feel very strongly that this man should be fucking set free. I feel like it's some kind of corruption going on. I don't know if they're trying to set an example. But it's okay. You've set enough of an example. 33, 34 years. It's time to let that man out and let him fucking live. His entire adulthood has been incarceration. That's what he knows right now. Say his name again, Stephen Briston. He is being housed in a VADOC facility. He needs to be free. There's no reason he should not fucking be free. Let's see what else we can find. Right here. I just redid my words and my question about can the juvenile be set free if they were sentenced before the Miller versus Alabama. And again, like I told you, he's in VADOC, Virginia Department of Corrections. It says, yes, a juvenile sentenced to life before Miller versus Alabama can still be set free in Virginia. This is possible because Virginia passed a specific law making individuals who were under 18 at the time of their offense eligible for parole after serving 20 years, effectively ending juvenile life without parole sentences. He's been in there well over 20 years, 33 to 34 fucking years. Why is he still in there? Under Virginia law enacted in 2020, anyone sentenced to life or long de facto life sentences totaling more than 20 years for a crime committed as a minor becomes eligible for a parole review after serving 20 years. I have not heard nothing about him having any parole. He does not have parole. So being eligible for parole does not mean automatic freedom. The Virginia Parole Board evaluates cases based on rehabilitation, maturity, and the specifics of the original offense. You know, you got to look at it like this, too. He is, after so many years in prison, you have to adapt to your surroundings. You have to learn to survive. I've never been in prison. I've been to jail, but jail and prison are totally different. All right. The only basically same thing is you don't have your freedom. Of course, people are going to act out, especially when they know they're not supposed to fucking be there. He does not have no institutional, from what I've seen, he doesn't have any really bad institutional charges. That's something we'll have to find out during his interview. There's nothing that I have personally seen that should stop him from being released. I believe when he comes home, they're going to be on his ass. But do you think he's not going to get this second chance after being gone for so long? After being, you know, I'm trying to figure out the words. Not necessarily getting out of these multiple life sentences, but do you think he's not going to take that chance and grasp it and do what he has to do? I personally don't think he's going to care if they got their foot on his neck or not. I don't think he's going to care if he's on probation for the rest of his fucking life. That's totally different than being incarcerated. Can't nobody, as I'm sitting here looking at this computer now, I'm looking at the paperwork, the notes I have on him. Because see, I do intake for every interview I do an intake form, and then I do a question script based off of what I know. They give him multiple sentences to run consecutively. If you don't know what that means life plus life plus life. So even if he paroled one, he's still going to have another one. That's not, where does that make any fucking sense at? When nobody was hurt. Example. Yeah, Sean Grayson just passed away. If you don't know who Sean Grayson is, he's the fucking cop that killed Miss Sonia Massey. He was only given 20 years. 20 fucking years for straight up shooting this lady in her own home. That's a case I was really invested in. But here we have Lil Steve. Nobody was fucking hurt. And he's doing multiple life sentences. As a juvenile. With a co-defendant in only 60 fucking years. Were their pleas done? Did his co-defendant testify against him? That's something we're going to have to find out in the interview. Those are questions I don't even have the answer to right now. The purpose of part 1 is to bring it to you all so you could get a little bit of a backstory before his interview. So we could jump right into his interview. And I plan on doing that tomorrow. So that video should be up probably tomorrow. This one will go up today. But a lot of times in these cases with a juvenile and an adult, the adult actually flips on a juvenile and puts everything on them. Is that what happened? I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to put that on somebody, because that's something only Lil Steve can tell us right now. Well, when we do that. What kind of lawyer did he have? What was his lawyer saying? Did his lawyer really fucking work as hard as he should have fucking worked for him? We need ACLU involved. We need all kinds of shit involved. We need to keep this man's name alive. It's something that can fucking be done, because it's been done before. We've had men getting out from 40 years who were completely innocent. 30-some years who had self-defense. I mean, and that's where people were hurt at. But again, nobody was hurt in Stephen Briston's case. Excuse me for saying issues, because I ain't gonna make him sound crazy. But he went in as a boy, and here he is, a grown-ass man who just wants to be free and live his fucking life. And nobody is giving him that chance when he fucking deserves it. He should not be there. Why in the hell is he still incarcerated? I need to get the campaign for the fair sentencing youth involved. It shows right here, advocacy groups like the Campaign for the Fair Sentencing of Youth continue to push for structural changes to the parole process to ensure that the youth-related mitigating factors are properly weighed during the reviews. Right here, Virginia abolishes life without parole for children. 17 years old, I don't care. You're a child. You're still a child. Your parents are still responsible for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, at the end of my video, I'm going to put in here, copies of what Miller versus Alabama is, the juvenile life without parole overview. I'm going to put copies of all of that in at the end of the video so you all can see this. If you know anybody involved with ACLU or the campaign, where'd it go? Hold on. The Campaign for the Fair Sentence of Youth. If you know anybody involved in that, please have them contact me, or they can even contact him. Whichever is easier. I can definitely get in touch with him. Or they can. And yeah, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. It's not right. And we definitely are gonna keep trying, keep fighting for him. A lot of bad things happen to these people. One thing I personally want people to understand, as a woman who has a sibling incarcerated, doing life plus 30, I know my brother, and regardless of him being in there, my brother is still a good man. To me, there's nothing anybody could ever say about my brother to make me think otherwise. Even though I know what he did or what happened, I was not there, so I don't know what led up to that. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. We don't know what led up to Steve walking into that bank with that grown-ass man who's only doing 60 years while Lil Steve's doing multiple life fucking sentences. It's not right. If you're going to give this child multiple life sentences, you should give this grown-ass man multiple life sentences. To me, it sounds like it was all put on Lil Steve. That's what it sounds like. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not law enforcement. I'm not news. I am just a podcaster. I'm just a sister of an incarcerated man who wanted me to take on somebody he knows story. I did the proper research. I spoke to the man who I'm speaking about, and I feel very strongly about this. There's no fucking reason He should still be incarcerated after 34 years when he was sentenced as a juvenile. The only way, I just read, the only way in 2020, after Montgomery versus Louisiana, they said that a juvenile can be sentenced to life without parole as long as the juvenile is incapable of rehabilitation. That's not the case here. He is capable. While the state counters that it's enough that the sentencer considered the juvenile's youth. The question comes to the court in the case of Brett Jones, who was 15 years old in 2004 when he stabbed his grandfather to death during an argument about Jones' girlfriend. Jones was convicted by a jury and sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of parole. Okay, I'm not saying that's right because he hurt somebody. He took somebody's life, right? But Lil Steve did not. No person, animal, anything was fucking hurt. But he's being sentenced to multiple life sentences. Or he was sentenced to multiple life sentences. How can you sentence somebody to multiple life sentences? You only get one life, dumbasses. Number one. See, I'm getting pissed off. So we're about to go ahead and wrap this up, but I'm going to leave this with a few words, right? Again, his name is Stephen, Lil Steve Briston. He's 50 years old now. He's been incarcerated for 33 or 34 years. His charge was robbery, armed robbery in a bank. I'm not glorifying that in any means. Yes, that part was wrong, but it does not deserve the sentence it got. Nobody was hurt. It does not deserve multiple life sentences for a juvenile, and then your co-defendant, who was a grown-ass man, to only get 60 years. I would like to get ACLU involved. I would like to get the campaign for the Juvenile Youth Act involved. I would like to get some more advocates involved. I would really, really, really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and share this video to get his name out there. Anybody who would like to write him with support, I will put his information up. Anybody who could be of any service or help, you can either contact me through my messages, or you could contact him, whichever you would like. And yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about doing a petition. We're gonna work on this. We're gonna work as hard as we can. What's gonna come of it at the end, I have no fucking clue. But again, me and my brother feel very strongly about this. We stand behind Lil Steve. We want to fight for his fucking freedom. And yeah, with that being said, I appreciate y'all listening. I hope y'all stay tuned for part 2, which is going to be an interview with Lil Steve. Maybe even a part 3 to where I let him just talk through the whole thing. We will see what he wants to do. It's up to him. I just wanted to introduce y'all basically to the story. So if you do watch part 2 and possibly part 3 if there is one, you will know what's going on. No negative comments, please, because that's not what I do. If you don't agree with me, that is perfectly your right. If you don't agree with him on his interview, that's perfectly your right. I don't do negativity because that's not my purpose in this podcast. My purpose in this podcast is to bring awareness, right? The awareness in this incident is an incarcerated man has got the shit end of the stick. If you don't know what that means, look up that figure of speech. And yeah. So with that being said, I do love you all. I hope you all stay safe. Have a lovely week. Enjoy the rest of your summer what's left. And we're going to wrap up Hollywood Mix with Shambi. the podcast Speak About It, episode 9, part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Love you all. Bye.